The Southern African country of Namibia is set to hold its 7th presidential election on Wednesday. The ruling party is fielding its first female presidential candidate. NATO's allies wonder about their transatlantic relations with incoming U.S. President-elect Donald Trump. And farmers in Kenya are using artificial intelligence-powered tools to optimize the quality and quantity of their crops. All this and much more coming up on today's Africa 54. Namibia's Vice President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah could become the country's first female president if she wins the presidential election on Wednesday. At least 1.4 million people, or about half of the country's population, are registered to vote. It is the country's 7th presidential and National Assembly elections since gaining independence 34 years ago. The key question is whether SWAPO can recover from its loss of a two-thirds parliamentary majority in the last election and retain its long-held power. Vitalio Argula has more.
Coming off the back of its most disappointing showing since Namibia attained independence in 1990, the ruling party, SWAPO, is hoping to cement its position, leading the government when the country holds elections on Wednesday. SWAPO, which has ruled Namibia since independence, lost in 2019 its two-thirds majority in parliament, which is needed to pass laws. Kadiva Hamutumwa is the president of the Namibia Exile Kids Association, NECA, an affiliate of the ruling party. She says the party has done enough work to regain its majority.
Throughout the 40 regions, as we were traveling explaining this manifesto, people they have understood the achievements that the SWAPO party has gained. They had equally understood the challenges that they have had. But there is low democracy that is growing as a nation that does not change.
The most recent census places Namibia's estimated population at just over 3 million. Of those, 1.4 million are registered voters. Many parties in recent weeks have been hard at work mobilizing voters, mostly made up of young people, to cast their votes. Manuel Ngaringombe is the Secretary General of the People's Democratic Movement, or PDM, which is the official opposition in the country.
We have sent our manifesto. People are reacting, people want to vote, people want change, and we believe that change is exactly going to come and Namibia will not be the same. So we are ready to go to the polls, hoping that the Electoral Commission of Namibia is also very ready.
Earlier this month, members of the police and defense force who will be on duty on voting day cast their votes across the country. Namibians in the diaspora also voted, with results showing a lead for SWAPO. New parties taking part in their maiden elections, the Independent Patriots for Change, or IPC, and the Affirmative Repositioning, AR movement, came second and third respectively. Job Amupanda is the leader of the AR movement. He applauded the Electoral Commission of Namibia for peaceful elections, free from violence and intimidation.
We actually think that those people who fight are very primitive and we haven't had that experience. Do we want to compare it to other countries? And we see what is happening in Mozambique, and we can't guarantee what's going to happen.
21 political parties are vying for seats in the National Assembly. 15 candidates are vying for the country's presidency. Among those vying for the presidency is Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, the only female candidate on the ballot and the ruling party's candidate, who will become Africa's third female head of state if SWAPO retains its long-held position of ruling party. Vitalio Angula, VOA News, Windhoek, Namibia.
The number of people killed in Sudan's civil war is far higher than previously thought. According to new research, the conflict has forced 11 million people to flee their homes and created the world's worst hunger crisis. Henry Ridgewell reports.
Khartoum's residential streets are lined with hundreds of graves. Cemeteries have run out of space.
The numbers of dead became really big. We bury at least 50 people per day. These are all fresh bodies.
Sudan's civil war erupted in April 2023, a brutal power struggle between the army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. An estimate widely used by international aid agencies said just over 20,000 civilians had died from the violence in the first 14 months of the war. But a new study from the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine looked at multiple sources and suggests the death rate is much higher. Maysoon Dahab is lead author of the report.
In the first 14 months of the war, there has been a 50% increase in the death rate in Khartoum state alone. That amounts to about 61,000 deaths due to disease, starvation, and directly from the violence itself. Amongst that 61,000, we have about 26,000 who have been killed directly by violence.
Separately, the aid group Doctors Without Borders says that since January this year, 1 in 6 of its patients at a Khartoum hospital were children under 15. Many sustained severe injuries from gunshots, blasts and shrapnel. There's also been a rise in cases of severe malnutrition among children. The United Nations says the conflict has forced 11 million people to flee their homes, with some 25 million people, half of Sudan's population, needing food aid, making it the world's biggest hunger crisis. It's vital that more is done to end the suffering, says Dahab.
So in the case of the international community, ensuring the understanding that aid efforts need to be increased, scaled, and put out to inaccessible populations. In terms of actors who are shaping the war, what we hope to put out in terms of the research is the true price of this war, so that they are able to make their decision based on those facts.
The United States Special Envoy for Sudan, Thomas Perriello, travelled to Khartoum last week for talks with Sudan's army chief.
We also share the aspiration for this war to end as soon as possible, to see an end to the horrific atrocities.
There are few signs that either the Sudanese army or the Rapid Support Forces are ready to agree a truce. Meanwhile, Russia last week vetoed a UN Security Council resolution calling for a ceasefire, saying the process excluded Sudan itself. Britain, which sponsored the resolution alongside Sierra Leone, labelled Moscow's veto a disgrace. Henry Ridgewell, VOA News.
NATO allies are preparing for a potentially turbulent transatlantic relationship following the U.S. presidential election victory of Donald Trump. During his first term in office, Trump questioned NATO's relevance and repeatedly berated allies for failing to spend enough on defense. But as Henry Ridgewell reports, many European nations are echoing calls to spend more in the face of the threat from Russia.
US officials on Thursday attended the opening of an American ballistic missile defense base in Poland, which had been planned since 2008. Warsaw praised the commitment shown by successive US presidents.
The United States is indeed, in a very tangible sense, a guarantor of the security of the Republic of Poland, as well as of the entire North Atlantic Alliance.
Warm words for Washington, but beneath the surface there are jitters over the commitment of incoming US President Donald Trump to Europe's security. In 2017, Trump labelled NATO as obsolete and repeatedly criticised NATO allies.
23 of the 28 member nations are still not paying what they should be paying and what they are supposed to be paying for their defense. This is not fair to the people and taxpayers of the United States.
At the 2018 NATO summit, allies said Trump threatened to pull the United States out of the alliance if European nations failed to increase military spending. Trump claimed success.
Everyone's agreed to substantially up their commitment. They're going to up it at levels that they've never thought of before.
Trump caused further NATO shockwaves in February this year on the campaign trail.
One of the presidents of a big country stood up and said, "Well, sir, if we don't pay and we're attacked by Russia, will you protect us?" I said, "You didn't pay? You're delinquent?" He said, "Yes, let's say that happened. No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want. You got to pay. You got to pay your bills."
NATO allies can expect renewed pressure to spend more when Trump takes office, says Fabrice Pottier, a former NATO head of policy planning.
I'm not so sure we can talk about an existential threat to NATO like back in 2018, but you can count on him to drive a very hard bargain, an extra emphasis on not just having reached more or less the 2% target, but possibly laying the ground for 2.5 or 3% at the next summit in June in The Hague.
Such an approach would likely be welcomed by many European states following Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
The Eastern Front allies like Poland, for example, but also the Baltic and even the Nordic countries are now actually seeing that as a good thing. But I think there's still some worry across the alliance that his transactionalism could undermine the credibility of the collective defense.
Donald Trump on Wednesday appointed loyalist Matthew Whitaker as his nominee for US ambassador to NATO. In a written statement, Trump said Whitaker will strengthen relationships with our NATO allies and that he would put America first. His appointment still has to be approved by the US Senate. Henry Ridgwell, VOA News.
Fleeing the Liberian military coup in 1980, Naquita Riggs came to Aurora, Colorado with her family to start a new life. She's been elected to various political roles, now at the level of state representative, serving one of Colorado's most diverse cities. Speaking to VOA's Anthony Labruto, Representative Riggs shares how she is impacting her community and her state.
Yeah, I'm elected to my third term. I've served for 4 years in the Colorado General Assembly, and I have championed lots of bills. Several I can highlight. I did a towing customer bill of rights. In Colorado, people were getting towed because they lived in these common interest apartment buildings or condominium complexes. And within 24 hours of getting your car towed, you had a $300 bill. And for every day that they kept your car after that, they charged you a $60, $70 storage fee. So it quickly could accumulate into like thousands of dollars, especially for those people who may not have the money right away. We heard so many testimonies of community members who could not get to work, could not take their kids to school, could not get to doctor's appointments. And so this upended many people's lives and just threw them into a tailspin. I've done stuff around medical debt. Medical debt right now is not counted by the federal government when you go to buy a house. So if you get an FHA loan, they don't look at your medical debt. So in Colorado, we passed a law, and I sponsored that bill to ensure that medical debt is not counted in your credit score. I've also done a pilot program to get your rental history on your credit, which has helped many people build their credit in Colorado. I've done stuff with mental health, for small businesses. I also have done stuff in the immigration area where we set up the first immigration defense fund. So for people who were going through the deportation process, that's the only court in the land where you don't get a lawyer publicly assigned. So this fund helps people who are being deported, and by having a lawyer, you're 7 times more likely to get bail and be able to continue to work in the country until you can get through the court proceedings. And we also stopped the sheriff's departments and municipalities from working with ICE.
I know you came to Aurora originally because of family, but what's been your experience as an African immigrant in a place that there really isn't necessarily a lot of connection to a lot of other Africans?
Yeah. Colorado is a very interesting place, as you said. And Aurora, for whatever reason, has been a mecca for not only African immigrants, but so many immigrants from all over the world. 1/10 of the people, or I would say at least 20% of people here, say that they either are first generation or their parents were first generation. We have people from all over the world. We are like the 4th most diverse city in the country. And so Aurora was recently, on the spotlight because of the Venezuelans that have come and the deportation threats that are coming. I think, more and more people have come. The statistics show that since 2000, from 2000 to 2019, the African immigrant population has increased by 400%.
You came from Liberia, kind of under, certainly not great circumstances, but for other African immigrants, other Liberian immigrants, making the journey to America, do you have a message for them?
Yeah, I think that, there's places, we don't have a huge Liberian population here, but wherever you are, I think you can make a difference in your community. There's places like Minnesota, there's places like Rhode Island, and, wherever you are, I think you work hard, play by the rules, and get involved. If you want to get engaged in public service, don't be afraid of it. I'm willing to help, and there's others that can help you so that you can lift your voice and represent your community as well. But I think, we all come here fleeing, whether it's war, famine, looking for a better opportunity for life, trying to create our own American dream. And I think that is entirely possible for sure. Even though there's obstacles, it's not a perfect situation, but I think that we continue to work toward a more perfect union every day.
That was Colorado State Representative Naquita Reek speaking with VOA's Anthony Labruto. Still to come, farmers in Kenya use artificial intelligence tools to optimize their crops. We'll be right back.
On the next Straight Talk Africa, Namibians are heading to the polls to vote for a new president and parliament on November 27. The former Liberation Party, the Southwest Africa People's Organization, or SWAPO, has been in power for 34 years, but now support is waning. High unemployment, poverty, and corruption has young Namibians yearning for change. Join me, Peter Clotty, for an in-depth look at the elections in Namibia.
In other news, Libyan military officials say they have apprehended hundreds of migrants traveling to the country's vast desert, hoping to ultimately cross the Mediterranean Sea in pursuit of a better life in Europe. The 444th Brigade, a powerful militia group that operates under the auspices of the Libyan army, said its patrolling commanders detained more than 300 migrants. Farmers in Kenya are using artificial intelligence to help them get better crop yields. An AI-powered tool called Virtual Agronomist engages directly with farmers to help them create tailored plans to optimize the quality and quantity of their crops. Mohamed Yusuf has more from Mwea, Kenya.
Henry Gichobi is using a tool powered by artificial intelligence to assess the soil fertility on his farm in Mwea, Kenya. The AI app, called Virtual Agronomist, uses a chatbot to communicate directly with small-scale farmers through WhatsApp. Using satellite information, the tool gathers and analyzes data to help Gichobi learn the right type and amount of fertilizers and chemicals needed to maximize his crop yields.
For this technology, it has helped me to know the type of nutrients in the soil, and also it has helped me to know the type of fertilizer to apply in the soil. Okay, before this technology, I was harvesting less than 20 bags, but after applying this technology, it has helped me to harvest 26 bags and above.
Gichobi uploads photos of his farm. In return, Virtual Agronomist sends back satellite images of his land and recommendations on how to get the biggest and highest quality crop yields. And at a time when farmers face changing weather patterns and the impact of climate change, the app also offers advice on the best type and amount of chemicals to combat pest and disease on the farmers' plots. Nicholas Kinyua, also a farmer, says the AI tool also helped him increase his rice harvest from 20 to 26 bags this season.
I was applying a lot of chemicals on my farm, and now I am using less money compared to when I was planting using traditional methods. This technology has helped me today to harvest more food.
Judy Kaguya says she saved money using the virtual agronomist and expects a larger rice yield when she's done harvesting in coming weeks.
I believe I'm going to harvest much more food from my farm compared to before. I used too much fertilizer in the past, which cost me a lot and left me unhappy. But now I feel so happy visiting my farm. It fills my heart with joy.
The Innovative Solutions for Decision Agriculture, or ISDA, helps train farmers how to use the app. The organization says over 30,000 farmers in Africa, half of them in Kenya, are using the virtual agronomist. Officials say the tool has soil data for the entire continent and helps farmers plant and manage crops such as maize, coffee and tea.
The system wants to know what the best farmer is doing so that the farmer is given a recommendation to at least bring the farmer to the best farmer. We want to bridge the gap, because if they are coming from the same locality and the best farmer is doing 30 bags, let's say, and the farmer is doing 20, we want to give the farmer a recommendation that can bring the farmer almost to the best farmer.
Wanyaka says it will take some time to convince many farmers that more fertilizer and chemicals does not necessarily mean they will yield more and better crops. Mohammed Yusuf, VOA News, Mwea, Kenya.
It's time for our health segment, and joining us now is Africa 54 health correspondent Lino Mudu with a special guest. Hello, Lino.
Hello, Esther. Hello, everyone. The holiday season is here, and with it comes family gatherings, festival meals, and often the temptation to overindulge. Staying committed to healthy eating during the holidays can be challenging, but it does not have to mean giving up on delicious meals or your health goals. Joining me in the studio to share some tips on navigating holiday meals mindfully and creating healthy, flavorful dishes with holiday leftovers is Chief Cynthia Anderson-Clay, a motivational speaker, health and wellness coach, and author of The Art of Healthy Cooking. Cynthia, thank you so much for joining us today.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. Listen, Thanksgiving here in the United States is on Thursday, so it's a big day of celebration and a big day of eating.
Yes.
So, and then holidays coming, the other holiday, Christmas and Hanukkah and everything else. So tell us about the way that we eat and the way that we have to think about eating during the holidays, because we tend to forget ourselves with big meals and big portions.
Yes, and and thank you for that question, because one of the things that you want to keep in mind is portion control, right? We don't want to overdo it. So how do you do that? Take a look at my hand. So you want to use like the palm of your hand. That should be your measuring point. Try not to overfill your plate, and make sure that it's portion control. So this palm of your hand, that's what I tend to tell my clients.
So if you have a small hand but a big appetite, what do you do?
So small portions, multiple meals.
Okay.
So you can start out with a small portion, okay, so then you're talking, you're laughing, you're taking pictures, you're with your family and friends. Then you might want to go back and have some more.
Okay.
So I start with your vegetables first, right?
All right.
Fill up on all your vegetables, then do a protein. So now you're engaging, you're having your fun, you're enjoying your food, but it's in portion control, and you're spacing it out.
Okay.
So think about it like that.
Now you brought us something here today, and this is like a leftover revamped.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Tell us what you have.
Well, I am sort of known as the remix queen. So I'll teach people how to take your dinner and turn it into a healthy lunch. So what we're doing here now is with Thanksgiving, you think about it, you have all this wonderful turkey. Well, what are we going to do with all this turkey? So this way we can have a healthy lunch for the next day. It's portable. You can pack it up. It's really good. And I incorporated an American dish of stuffing with plantains.
Yes. Okay.
So I baked the plantains. I boiled them first, and then I baked them to get them really nice and soft. And then I incorporated that into an American tradition, which is stuffing.
Very interesting, because you said you bake the plantain. Usually where I'm from,
Yes.
West Africa, Ivory Coast, we tend to fry the plantain.
Yes.
So,
yes.
so when you bake it, what do you do to make it soft?
Thank you for that question, because what I really wanted to point out is trying to eat healthy during the holiday season. What can we do to minimize some of the health risk if that's something that we're faced with? You know, maybe you can't have fried food.
Yes.
So I baked it for people who can't really have fried food. Thank you for that question.
And what is the wrap made of?
So the wrap, that's just a spinach dip. So it's a tortilla, and it's just it's spinach, and that's how it's flavored.
All right. So here we have a cranberry.
Yes, I have cranberry, and what I love about when I was in Africa is the pineapple. So I have cranberry and pineapple there, and I layer the tortilla with that, and then I place the turkey on top of it, and then I kind of layer everything on it.
Makes
and
a nice wrap, a nice sandwich. Because one of the things with Thanksgiving, a lot of time turkey is, you know, there's leftover turkey. So that gives us an idea also, whether it's chicken or even fish. You can do that. You are an author. You wrote this book, The Art of Healthy Cooking.
Yes.
What is the main takeaway of this book? What will a reader take away from this?
Well, the main thing about this book is it's for the novice cook. It's also for a chef. It teaches you everything that you need to know about the kitchen, as well as how do you take care of yourself in the process. Eating healthy. There's a place where you can journal in there. Like if your journey is to have a healthier lifestyle, you can do that in the book. So it's soup to nuts.
Very interesting. One of the things that we don't pay attention to, and it's really also affecting a lot of our calorie intake, or maybe the quality of the food, is spices.
Yes.
You know, we buy those spices. Some of them are heavy in salt. Some of them have sugar. Talk to us about the importance of minding the spices we put on in our food.
This is a great question again. And take a look at the back. I always educate my clients. Look at the back of the ingredients that are on the seasonings. If it says salt in it, maybe you want to rethink that one. You might want to look at low sodium or salt-free. That's where you really want to put most of your energy into cooking and having it as your staple in your kitchen, because when you go to it to go cooking, you want to make sure that you have things that are just salt-free, because the food that you're already going to cook it with is going to have some type of salt in it already. For example, turkey, it's part of a brine. Chicken already has sodium in it. Look at the back, even on the chicken packages, you will see.
All right, Cynthia, thank you so much. And you also have seasoning that you make. And thank you. We're going to be mindful of what we eat. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
And that is Cynthia. She is Cynthia Anderson Clay, her full name, a motivational speaker, health and wellness coach, and author of The Art of Healthy Cooking, A Journey to a Healthier You. That's our health report for today, so stay in touch. For more, find me on X at Lina Hudu. Back to you, Esther.
Thanks, Lino. Be sure to watch Lino Mudu's health reports every Tuesday right here on Africa 54, and that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, thanks for watching.